now you've got your glam on, but you don't have appetizers to go with your fantastic look, to spill on your dress and all that stuff.
That's right, which I'm ready to do.
Yeah, we're gonna make them. We're gonna make them with John Slattery. He's from 4 Main Street Restaurant in Huntington. So what are we gonna make today? Bite-sized stuff, is that right?
Yeah, bite-sized stuff, things to get going, you know, when people are coming over or, you know, for the beginning of your dinner party. The way I looked at this today was, you know, everybody's been eating for the last 3 or 4 days for Christmas, and, and then we get a little break, and then we get New Year's again. So some of the things that we had for Christmas dinner might still be good because, you know, leftovers in your fridge may last for 5 days if they're put away properly and stuff like that. So if you had like some leftover pot roast or some of the shrimp you didn't thaw, for some reason you didn't eat all the shrimp or didn't thaw them all out, you had a couple left over, those kind of things, different cheeses from the cheese platters. So we have a lot of different things we're going to put together, a couple different kinds of bite-sized appetizers.
And bite-size is always good for any kind of party because then you're not trying to find a place to sit and use a fork and knife, and it's really the way to go.
And for me, if I'm holding a glass of champagne or wine in one hand and I have to have a plate in the other hand, then I can't eat and then I end up doing this. And that's not classy.
Right.
So bite-size is easy to do.
They do have seen it on TV, that thing with the little holder for the wine, and you hold your hand, one hand, it's got a finger that holds the wine and the food, and you can walk around and eat and drink.
I'm sorry.
But I haven't gotten that far yet, so I hear it's available.
Christmas is coming next year. You know what to get me now.
So we've got a couple easy things I was going to do was like make a nice spread to put on some toast points. And then we can put beef and herbs and stuff on that. So we're going to make a spread. And here we have some softened cream cheese. And to that, we're going to add a little bit of my highly seasoned fresh herb garlic butter from the restaurant.
Okay.
And then we'll put a
Garlic butter. Is it
you
whipped? It looks like it's almost like a whipped
Yes, you know, we
cream.
whip the sweet cream butter with fresh herbs and garlic and a couple of our signature seasonings, and we use that on all of our garlic toast.
Nice.
Cool.
And so we're just going to mash those together.
And is that it?
Well, that's the beginning of the cream cheese here, and then we're just going to put a little bit of. I wanted to make sure that cream cheese was soft enough to get the rest of the ingredients in.
Good decision.
And so we've got that going there, and that's gonna add a ton of flavor to it, and then we're just going to add some nice cracked pepper.
It seems like you can make this in advance too.
Well, that's what we're doing now. We're making this spread, and then we're going to put it off to the side because we're going to come back and we'll put it on the toast points once we've toasted them.
Now,
So
if you were to make this today, could it still be ready and good enough for New Year's?
Yes, but you would probably want to pull it out an hour or so before you use it to soften it again so it spreads. So it's either make it right when you need it so it's soft and spreadable, or make it and then.
I bet you could just throw this out with some vegetables too and crackers, make it even easier for yourself.
Sure, that would save a lot of time.
That's the
You
way
could
to
just
go,
stick.
yeah.
We can put everything out on the table and let everybody just mush it together, and then there's no work.
I'm not
That's right.
complaining.
If we want to entertain and go that next level though, and have some stuff ready when they come in, I have here some of the white bread and wheat bread that we bake at the restaurant for our sandwiches, and a little bit of our dinner bread. And we're just going to cut them into smaller bite-sized pieces.
Right, because we're making the bite-sized apps. Now, the bite size for me is like you don't have to cut that one. That's like the bite size.
Well, that's kind of big. That's a 2 bite size.
Yeah, that's my bite.
For some, yeah.
So you know, it all depends on what you want, what you're aiming for, and how big and elaborate the final product is. Because I mean, if you're going to put a whole shrimp on it, then the piece is going to have to be big enough to hold the whole shrimp.
Right.
But if you're going to just put a little piece of rolled up beef
I got you.
at the end, then we can do
And
something like that.
I just like big bites. That's
So
all.
we're gonna spread just the garlic butter on those, and we're gonna toast them in the oven while we're gone to the next segment. And then when we come back after we've toasted the toast points, and we're gonna top them with the cream cheese and top them with some of the beef. And then we're gonna have all these small ingredients chopped together, and we're gonna make some stuff into puff pastries. You and I, we can fold them into some puff pastries and bake them in the oven, and so we can see the little tiny. And if you can't get the puff pastry squares, which they do sell at some specialty food stores and ethnic food stores, there's a company that's represented by a guy made from dough, and they sell it in the little canisters, and you can buy a puff pastry in the grocery store like that.
I was gonna say, I think I might be familiar with that.
And then we'll have a smorgasbord of bite-sized appetizers. Thanks so much,
So
John.
no problem. We'll be back in a little bit.
Yes, sounds
Love
great.
it. Thank you. And welcome back to Mass Appeal. We're back with John Slattery. 4 Main Street in Huntington is the restaurant. We've been doing little appetizers. You've been hard at work. What are we making now?
So, while the crostinis are just finishing up in the oven over there, I figured we could put together some mini Wellingtons.
Okay.
Poor man's Wellington, maybe?
A poor man's beef Wellington.
Beef Wellingtons, tenderloin, foie gras, or pate, mushrooms and onions wrapped in a thing.
meat.
Fancy thing. It was actually named after General Wellington. I guess he lost his leg or something like that. And if you look at the boot with the cutoff, it's got layers and layers and layers with a big red thing in the middle.
You just totally ruined a beef Wellington for me.
For all the world,
Now
probably,
it looks
but
like a man's
That's where it came
foot.
from, because it looks
All
like a
right.
boot. But we're going to make poor man's one. So we have pot roast. It's
Yeah?
nice and tender.
Okay, good. Pot roast in there.
And so it's already going to be nice and tender. It's fully cooked. So these will only take the amount of time it takes to to get the thing going. And we're gonna put a little bit on here. You can make one too.
Okay, now take me through this puff pastry, because this is pretty much a vessel that you can do anything with. Is that right?
Right. I mean, you can get the puff pastry in the roll, like I said, in the grocery store, and cut it to. They make one that's not cut at all, or they make one that comes in triangles. And so I just cut the square in half, or cut the square this way. And we're gonna add a little bit of ingredients. So it's very versatile. It bakes very quickly in the oven, and it makes things really pretty.
Okay.
So you got a little pile of beef, and then if you like a little bit of garlic and a little bit of mushroom, you put whatever you want in yours.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little onion. Oh, too much onion. We'll give that one to Ashley.
She likes extra
Now,
onion.
what about, can I do a little blue cheese?
You can do whatever you want. I had a neat idea. You could almost have a dinner party where everything was all laid out and everything makes their own and then throw them in the oven for a couple minutes.
That's a
a
great
whole other
idea.
concept. But
It's like the omelet bar to the next level.
And so then when you got your ingredients in here, that's a big piece.
I know.
You're all about the big stuff.
I
We're
go
gonna put a
big or
small
go
one
home
so we can,
today.
so we can fold it. And we're just gonna pinch it up into like a little purse.
Now, would you suggest having all cooked stuff if you're going to do this?
It's a lot, yes. For an appetizer party, with taking the puff pastry is going to take only a certain amount of time to cook. Putting raw ingredients in there, it may not be finished in time.
That
so.
it seems like, because the puff pastry is pretty thin, so other things wouldn't cook in time.
Yeah, so we just kind of fold up the corners and fold in the edges and make them into like little purses.
And you almost can't make mistakes with these, right?
You don't overcook them. I think everything will be perfect.
Okay, and you look for golden brown?
Golden brown. And we'll have some ready by the time the end of the show comes. I'll put some more together.
Sounds good to me.
And then we're going to pull those toast points out of the oven.
Now,
real
the
quick.
toast points you made earlier in the show, and I remember they're a little bit warm,
They're warm.
but we spread the garlic butter on them.
We spread the garlic butter on them and got some nice color.
Yeah, we
Come around
did.
so we can see them. And we got some really nice color on them. And so we're going to let them cool off. And when everybody comes back, we'll have spreads and all the little toppings on those.
Sounds
and we're going
good.
to do with the shrimp and the lobster. And we're going to also make some scalloped wrapped and bacon.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
And this is all stuff you might have in your fridge right now.
Bread from, bread, the ends of the bread that you had from, your sandwich bread you can
Yeah.
use. It really doesn't have to be fancy bread or go out and buy a special baguette, as long as it's going to hold its density, like one of those little slightly upscale bread. Those little loaves of white bread won't probably hold together, but any
No.
other bread other than that one would probably would.
Well, this is nice because a lot of people, if they're thinking about having New Year's at home, they think it's going to cost an arm and a leg, but it doesn't need to.
Well, the great thing about making the puff pastry and canopy is you only need a tiny bit of filling in each one. So that little bit of leftover pot roast, we can probably make 10 or 15 bite-sized appetizers by adding a few of these extra ingredients.
And by the time you have a couple of these, you're feeling a little full as it is.
So and they're not supposed to be the main course unless you're planning a whole full night of appetizers and having lots and lots of appetizers. If it's just meant to be, when people come in and you're going to have a roast or some lamb chops or something like that later on, and this is just to get you warmed up and put good flavors in.
But most importantly, don't stress and drive safe, everybody
lots
out
of
there.
fun.
Also ahead on...
We are back in the kitchen with John Slattery from 4 Main Street in Huntington.
Yeah.
And we are finishing up these bite-sized or not so bite-sized appetizers.
Right, 1 bite, 2 bite, 3 bite, all depends on what you're really going for.
All bites are delicious, though.
So
Yeah.
the 1 bites are those real small. Start
I
out with a
tested
really
it.
small toast point.
So if people
a little
missed
bit
it
of stuff
earlier,
on top.
this is a toast point.
Toast point.
So you
Toast
basically
points.
made
Points.
toast in a triangle,
Yep.
and then you put some butter on it.
Yes.
Garlic butter. You put it in the oven.
Yep.
And then you topped it with a potpourri of goods.
Yes, yeah, so I had, like I said, a potpourri of leftovers from the fridge, so we pulled them out, and we made one here. This one's got smoked beef with a little bit of gorgonzola and a piece of tomato rolled up in it, or a lobster craw with smoked mozzarella cheese, a little bit of diced celery for crunch with shrimp.
Ooh.
This one here's got a slice of vine-ripened tomato, a little bit of fresh herbs, shrimp, and a lobster from one of those. Maybe that one. I think
Yeah.
is
That's
maybe
a meal
3
That's an
right
bites.
Ashley
there.
Cole bite right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And then we have the puff pastries that we put together, and they made these beautiful little purses.
So you threw them into the oven. For how long did you do that?
Oh, how long were we gone for? Maybe 20 minutes?
Something like
so,
that,
So
yeah.
and they're nice and puffed up, beautiful, brown.
Here, let's
See what we can see.
Yeah, there we go.
Here we go.
That looks nice.
So those are pretty. And you can
Yeah.
see all the things that we put. I even made one here that's got a vine-ripened tomato and shrimp and lobster.
So you
Oh,
can't
that's
go
pretty.
wrong. It's the perfect vessel.
And this one is gorgonzola cheese and lobster.
Oh, you are killing me, John. These look great. Now,
So you're mixing and matching here.
I also see you have some bacon wrapped scallops. Now
Yes.
you put them in the oven?
Yeah, well, we did them in the oven. We blanched the bacon.
Okay.
And then we'll be using these on Wednesday night on our New Year's Eve dinner at the restaurant. I've got these giant sea scallops, and we wrapped them with an applewood smoked bacon, and then we gently just seared them in the oven. But they took the same amount of time as the puff pastries.
Oh, it's
As long as the bacon was pre-cooked. When the bacon is done and the scallops are brown on both sides, a lot of people will be comfortable eating scallops that are medium rare,
Okay.
not completely cooked, like just through is the desired way to eat a scallop.
Now, John, you'll have to forgive my ignorance, but you said blanch bacon. I know how to blanch a vegetable. How do you blanch something like bacon?
Blanch is pre-cooking, so you could have a warm saute pan, but not hot, and just put it in until the bacon just starts to bubble and cook but isn't fully done. Or you could put them on a sheet pan in the oven and do the same thing at a lower temperature, so you're not burning it, you're not going to cook it. You just want you want the grease to start coming out of it and it just to start to harden. So
and
that the
these are
cooking time will slow
beautiful,
down.
delicious, and it's a big smorgasbord of bite-sized appetizers, 2 bite, 3 bite.
Speaking of beautiful,